when you throw the jab. So no further ado, it's time to box the jab. First thing you want to have is proper feet placement. Knees bent, 12, 2 o'clock, sit down in your stance. Head must be off the line. Why? Because you do not want to get countered to the left. You don't want to get countered to the right. So posture up. Key, hands, you want them around the eyebrow. Why? Because you do not want to get attacked or caught with a hook or overhand and split the eyebrow. So you protect your eyes, and you must have strong dexterity in the defense. Why? Because punches will hit the glove and they will hit you. So you'll be punching yourself. So you must have a strong posture. And when you throw the jab, balance. Do not deliver off balance or too tall. It sets you up for the counter. Throwing the jab, one. Mechanic here, here. Turn the hand over. Turn the hand over. Step with it. Step with it. Remember this, head is off the line. If you throw the jab straight up here, you're going to be in a line of fire. Key, when you throw the jab behind the shoulder, it's key. If you do not, what will happen is when you throw, low shoulder, counter punch over the top. Easy, chin check. You do not want that. So remember, posture right, pop. Make sure you're tucked behind. You cannot get caught. You can ricochet, and then you can catch the left hook. It's not what you do, things that you can't forget not to do. Ready? Boom, pop, pop, catch that hook. Make sure you deflect the right, pivot away from the power hand, which is usually the right hand. And that, my friends, is how you deliver one of the focused jabs, which is the basic jab. And there are a lot of principles. A lot of you really not staying or paying close attention to the depths of the jab. We're going to make sure that you understand why it's important to do the other things, the head off the line. How many different variations of the jab is it? We teach you that in our punch pad for pros, because as you go up in levels, you start to deliver more impactful type punches, more thudding, and you have to develop the body's dexterity. Don't get caught up with just that athletic look. Because if you do that, what's going to happen is your feet are not going to be with you when you throw the punch. So there's not going to be any power with it. See, a jab, every jab, front, back, feet must be with it, right? On another note, one important thing is to make sure that you have the proper tools. You see I have the compression shirt on. It's our 12 Peaks compression training shirt. It gives you a good rebound in your punching, all right? So that's a little cheat sheet. And I always bring the pounds with the power hands. It's uber important to give yourself a little more whenever you're training. Train with purpose. Understand one thing, the most important punch in boxing is the jab. Do not overlook all of these fine details. Excuse my French. It's uber important that what you know can get you to the promised land. What you don't know can be the demise of your future progress. So remember this. Understand the layers of the jab. There are many, many variations. It is the most important punch in boxing because there's so many manners in which you can deliver the jab. That's all I got for right now. To learn more about the different type punches, the different type jabs, punch pad for pros. Pros, that is. See you next time in a winner's circle. The jab. It's time to box. So long.
All right, all right, all right. Now, once again, you get to see the jab, full Monty. And here we go again, live on YouTube and Facebook. What we're going to do is really get into this episode because I had to botch it. Our mics wasn't even hooked up, so it sounded bananas. We got $1,000 mics over here, and we sounding crazy. So now we're back, and once again, it's time to box. We will get into this fight from over the weekend. We will speak specifically to why the jab is truly, truly important. As I see right here, Leanne Harrison says she struggles or he struggles with the pivot. Biggest thing about any move that you make in boxing, my friend, is the fact that you just have to start out bending the knees and then sitting in the stance. So there are different drills when you're training at the Olympic Training Center and you start to have camps at places like Kronk and down south and up in DC and VA, Baltimore, Philadelphia. There are different type things that you learn at an elite level when you're training in for national tournaments and POW tournaments out in California. That there's just so many things that professional athletes or elite boxers do that you have no idea of them or why do they do them. You get to really take it in the difference in levels in boxing. And hence is why I say, for those of you who have not really taken a tour of real boxing and you just want to start boxing and you think you can just go pro, you're absolutely insane. It's just like this. Try to learn how to spell without knowing your ABCs. Try to spell without having the consciousness of what a letter is. Okay. You'll look as if you're writing in Chinese, but you won't be writing anything because you don't know what a letter is. And that's exactly what will happen if you go into the sport of boxing thinking that you can do this without proper development. It's not a street fight. This is not bare knuckle brawling. This is not tough men contest. People learn their entire lives to develop and increase the mood flow of their muscle memory. And it takes decades for that to embed. So when you're learning how to do these type moves, when it comes to pivots, and why do you struggle throwing combinations or knowing how to sit down on your punch, how to get faster and allow your feet to be accompanied by you when you're making moves and learning how to become a ring general inside of the ring. Well, what that has the same pivot on is, or the segue to, is the muscle memory that it takes to bend your knees and sit down in your stance and learn that optimal balance is the first lesson that you must take heed to when it comes down to the sport of boxing. One of the reasons why you can't come from another sport and just master this is for that reason alone. You don't take the time to get the muscle memory. Athleticism will be the reason why you position yourself to lose the overall growth and development of what this thing is all about. So when it's all said and done, it can be a troublesome situation when you're trying to learn it. So Mr. Harrison or Mrs. Harrison, what I'll say to you is understand during those drills, as I go back to why I mentioned the Olympic Training Center and all of the national tournaments, is because you learn there's so many different muscle memory drills and stuff. So we did a 3-drop step. When we did it, we used to do pop, 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 back up, 1, 2, 3, down, which is giving you the muscle memory to constantly bend your knees, and not only bend your knees, elbows tucked tight, head off the line, and sit down in your stance once you're there. And that will give you the ability to really take what you're doing and take it to the next level. So this statement right here was great. So, that pivoting, that's why, because your other stuff isn't in place. Sneed, Coach Sneed. What's going on? TSOB in the building. Once again, for those of you who are on YouTube and Facebook and you're not conscious of who we are, what we do is we are basically the platform where we're the Harvard University of learning when it comes down to the sport of boxing. So, with that being said, we are going to get into the variations and the variables when it comes to learning how to throw the jab, preventing yourself from being caught out there on quiz street. And if you do that, what you'll find out is that throwing the jab is one thing, knowing what the return and the receipt will be is an entirely different thing. So how do you prevent yourself from being one of these people that get caught up on quiz street? The first thing you got to do is, as I said specifically in the video, when you deliver, you must understand what could possibly come back in a return. Make sure you tuck your shoulder, tuck your chin in your shoulder, behind that shoulder. Keep that part, that jawline protected. Over here, just in case they want to smack you with the hook. Keep those handlebars above those eyebrows so you don't get slits and cuts from elbows, headbutts, and rigid punches, because we teach you how to throw that hinge punch, and that'll split you wide open, wide open. Like we used to always say in the gym, you ain't got your headgear on, you ain't oiled up right, we'll cut you to the white meat. All right, so be prepared. Preparation is Bible in boxing. So the next thing you got to keep in mind when it comes down to this is there are just so many things that being athletic could be the worst thing for you, because you're usually going to work less. You can look like you have a skill better than most people typically, but the fact of the matter is you just look good doing it. Doesn't mean you have it down. All right. So I'm going to give you a few specifics before we get into the Canelo Callum Smith fight, how this thing plays out. So one of the young fighters that I see coming up, and he fought in the Olympics in 2016. His name is Richardson Hitchens. He's come under the banner of Floyd Mayweather. Everybody know what Floyd did as a youngster. Pretty boy Floyd never got touched. I'm telling you. But the thing is, special shouts out to my man Neil once again. The UK South Wales is in the building. We are uber proud to have my coaches on board, and such a ceremonious time. The key is, one of the things this young kid does have is the athleticism. He's big. He's 5'10 at 140. That's a big kid. And that's, no one ever thought of Sugar Ray Leonard as a big guy. But you think of Ray Leonard at 5'10 ish and a half. De La Hoya at 5'10. They never seemed like big guys. But when they were in the ring against guys at welterweight, unless their name was Thomas Hearns, they were bigger, substantially bigger. 5'10 at 140. Vivian Harris, he was a tall 140 pounder. But the rest of the guys, the Costazoos, the Zav Judas, those guys 5'7, 3 inches, and rangy, broad shoulders, athletic, and being schooled by someone like Floyd. Thing about it is, there has to be an education on how are you supposed to operate in what you call your box whenever you're substantially larger, athletic. One thing that I don't think that Hitchens has taken from Floyd is he had a very beautiful jab, piston like jab, catching the kid in the face constantly. And this kid had been training up in DC, so I know what goes on. It's nothing but bumping and grinding in DC. So if you ain't got your inside game together, I'm gonna promise you, you better not walk over there and climb between those ropes, because all you're gonna get is smoke. All right, facts. This kid Piston jab doubles it up every once in a while, keeps you at bay. It's totally void of going to the body. Floyd Mayweather, as an amateur, as a professional fighter, he used to eliminate everybody out of purest as a boxer, understanding that you got to throw more wrinkles in the game than just a great jab, just a jab. And my knock on this entire fight, I didn't judge it on one round. I didn't judge it on 2 rounds. I did not judge what I saw on 3 rounds. And I won't judge it on a fight because sometimes you're out of box. The one thing that I did notice from this young man is he threw the jab constantly at the same speed. Hence is why someone who has a much better team on the other young man's in the other young man's corner could have really exposed that going up under it and coming up uppercut left hook. It's not a me thing, it's a boxing bible thing. You got to know these type things. You have to change your speed up. So we always speak how to change your speed up when you are fighting. When we speak it, we don't just talk about it. I had to write it out, I had to get it published, and I had to do the video tutorial for it. And the amount of years it takes to accomplish that, so we wouldn't just be talking about somebody doing something. We got the answers. And the thing about it is we constantly are excoriating these people, positioning them so we can really go into what we see. When you look at a guy like Floyd Mayweather, when he was young, he was stabbing you to the body, stabbing you to the body. So one of the things that I noticed that this kid never went to the body, maybe several hooks through the entire fight. Behind the elbow, right hooks is what I saw. I was by the 5th round, I was bored because he wasn't showing me any more wrinkles. And by this time, as a professional fighter, Floyd Mayweather was getting ready to become champion already. 1 year. After 1 year in the sport, he was already world champion. And it was only because he understood the intangibles, being able to spar with guys like Sweet Pea, train over in VA, come from Detroit. I mean, the prowess, the mental prowess in which that Floyd had in consciousness to attack the body, not just be athletic, but have different rhythms, being able to not just tap guys for 10 rounds, but get them out of there. Floyd Mayweather at Pretty Boy Floyd was a knockout artist. So as I see this young kid, we're friends on Facebook as well. As I see the young man, I want to really make it clear because that's what I do. I don't care if you're a world champion. You saw what happened when I had Cambosis up here. I talk to you like I talk to my cousin, my brother, my homie, because see, I'm about this life for real, and I've dedicated 3 decades with shoes on it, and in a lifetime of studying and passing on these pearls, this of wisdom. But when a guy lacks the consciousness to display what you have when it's time to show it in the ring, that's the problem that has to be addressed. So being able to go to the body, changing up the speed in which you throw your punches, because if you don't, what will happen is over a very short amount of time, someone will get that timing down before they even get into a fight with you, and they will expose you for what your boxing game is worth. And you can't hide behind the muscles and muscles you do operate behind. You can't hide behind the flash, which it was pretty flashy. You got to bring the entire savage package. You got to take chances to jab to the body. And that's one of the things that Floyd did. So I said, you either lack the courage to go and attack the body, because that's part of boxing. You got to have that courage. Courage like a cat burglar. You got to move emotions out of it and understand, be defensively responsible when this is going on, because it's uber important that you don't underestimate the importance of when you climb that ladder to have the ability to attack the body and zap the gas tank and then take down the enemy in the midst of battle. Once you started to see that, I knew what I was going to see. There was not going to be any wrinkles shown. So I was very, very underwhelmed with the abilities this young man has. So hopefully those adjustments start to come into play, knowing how to use the inside, but he was well working in the shell, spacing, great. All of those, check, check, check. But you have to be able to work that body, stab that solar plex, rip those shots up top, wipe the nose with the left hook, on and on. So today, if you are fighters and if you're coaches, and a lot of you got to realize you got to know how to coach the guys when they aren't showing anything but being too safe, because this is a sport to entertain as well. And people will sign off on you, and people will sign off on you as fast as they signed on. So, with that being said, let me check it out. Let me take a couple of questions now. Let me see what you want, Calvin. Is there is this where tier 1 through 3 on the punch logistics come into coach? Yeah, but tiers basically just make sure you're executing the actual technique, because what we teach you is to make sure that you aren't doing anything that has a receipt tied to it. Because if you throw the jab wrong, shoulder too low, head too straight, chin not tucked, then it's an easy counter right hand or right cross or even a right hook. It's uber important that you go through the tiers, so when you start to speed up, that your technique, the muscle memory is there. It's locked in. So, even when you're going at fast pace, it's coming back right. All right. And then you still have to, what from that point, have to increase your endurance about it on that level. So it's all good. And it was a great question. Biggest thing is, remember this. Once you start learning this stuff in the school of boxing, and like the art of sparring is where you learn the change up speeds of punches. So you learn that as you're going into the sparring training and seeing all the drills that we have to embed into you, so you'll have those mechanics. Glenn constantly mentions the book that we have for the school of boxing. I mean, for the art of sparring, where that guide really shows you all of the layers when it comes down to how many kinds of punch variations and variables, speeds, combinations, fluidities that it takes on top of being able to hit. In boxing, you just can't box. You got to be able to punch somebody in the face. And that's kind of what we're we kind of had to make it make sense to people. So make sure you look into your art of sparring guide, read it. Everything's broken down. And then go to the video that you have and look at the sparring drills that you'll have inside of that training program. And so, I don't know, let me put it up so people can see it. I don't want to be talking and then they don't understand what I'm talking about. But with our programs, we have the actual downloads that go with it. So some of you see the science of counterpunching and the art of sparring are two of the most amazing skill programs to teach you, give you the variables in which you'll need to know how to throw punches, how to not get countered, how to increase your defensive prowess, how to catch, block, shoot, return, keep your head off the line. So many different things that make a fighter. I was about to use the word perfect, but there's no such thing as a perfect fighter. But perfect practice will make you the best type of option that you can gain from having the ability to learn the skill set of boxing at the higher levels. And even if you're teaching it, that it gives you such a respite to constantly add on to these guys' layers. So that program right there, oh, it's going back to over $100. So you better get it if you don't if you don't get it, because I don't even like seeing that down there. That this stuff is priceless. It's priceless. You get it, you own it, it changes your game 1000%. I don't care if your name is Derek James. You always have the ability to stack, but stack with a structure, and it's complete. Everything's complete. Like there's no one thing without the other. Everything has a hand, and the ability to learn it in tiers is what you have to do. So, Calvin, that was a great question. I love good questions. Oh, my man said you found this channel last week. Well, welcome. I don't know. Are you from YouTube or are you from Facebook or Instagram? Because I let those my Instagrammers know that we going live. I got 86,000 people follow me on Instagram. So welcome and shouts out to you. Good to see you. I would like to say your name. I don't want to tear it up, but Bangora, I'd like to send a special shout out to you for joining us. And yeah, we serious about that life, buddy. You know, I gotta protect the heritage of boxing. I got 3 generations in it. My family is deep when it comes down to it, and I have something to uphold. So that's kind of why we do it. We get behind the brand. We got to make sure that people aren't, or they have what they need, and that's kind of what we do. We give them what they need. And so hopefully that this young man, he just turns the game around and starts to add those other wrinkles. He has the athleticism, has the mental prowess, hopefully the coaching that he has in his corner, that those guys are team up and make sure that these little things are going to be there, because he got clipped several times. He has a good chin, but if he comes up short, that will be exposed. And guys up at the next level, you're gonna get guys that can crack better or sit down harder. But this is not amateurs. When you learn how to punch as an amateur, you're boxing. When you learn how to punch as a professional, you're punching. Okay, so hence is why I spoke specifically to that punch pad for pros. Make sure you do not play around with this fight game, and have all of your tools intact. So here's the punch pad for pro. I mean the punch pad for pros. So check that out. Now that's price kind of where it needs to be, because when you learn how to train and increase the dexterity in all of our videos, there's way more in it than what the cover tells you. So you're not just learning how to punch, you're learning so many variations of the boxing jab, so many ways to break a man down, so many ways to really get him out of there, to knock a man out unconscious, separate him from his well-being. There's a serious price that comes with knowing that kind of stuff. That comes from generational experimentation and executing and working with world champions and training world champions and having that platform to bring it forth to those who are coming up next. We're just passing the baton. So that's the punch pad for pros. I think that's a series. It's a bundle, the Mid Master bundle. So you get Mid Master 1, which is Mid Master 1 teaches those punch logistics. So like Calvin was saying, tier 1 type stuff, and you learn how to increase your speed. So we got great robotic speed training drills to create that muscle memory, build those muscles up with quick twitch fiber, which you will call upon when you're in that tier of a fight. Okay, or even if you're just getting in crazy shape and you just want to have that look. You look at George right here; it looks amazing. The Wild Prince is shredded because the programs he was doing, that resistance training, came over and started working in these type programs and got chiseled like a fighter. Fighters are cut different. Something certain things you got to realize about the body. Then you learn in Master 2, where you learn how to create that counterpunch ability and those reaction drills. Once again, increasing the speed of your quick twitch reaction. So your defensive prowess increases, your counterpunch skills increase. That's kind of why Floyd Mayweather was such a savage inside of the ring, because the Black Mamba, aka Roger Mayweather, gave him those reaction drill training mitts. So that's what you'll get with Mint Master 2. And Mint Master 3, you learn how to knock a joker out unconscious, and period. So many different drills, so many different skills, so much of an outcome. The receipt is second to none. So there you go. You get all three of that beautiful freaking rendition for that price. So it's a beautiful thing. So go out there and get it for your people. If you are a trainer, you are aspiring guy, you want to really learn how to do it, get up on that. Because when you go from amateur to elite amateur and then pro, you got to know how to punch, and you're not gonna learn it. And that's what that young kid Richardson is learning now, that you got to hit much different as a pro, and he can't get guys out of there. He thinks he's 11 and 0, 12 and 0, 5 knockouts. That's not someone you want to go pay 150, 250, $350 to go see. Not right now. I don't want to see a bunch of one speed boxing. I need to see some smoke. All right. I want to see someone regret they came that night. I don't want to be the one that regret that I came and spent my money. That's all I got right there. Now, let me see what my man say. Would you be willing to do an interview on our platform? I'm part of a research team and we have booked in Africa. Depends on, what it is. I'm a very busy man. I actually having a crazy agenda, Mr. Bongora. Our agenda is crazy, definitely through the end of the year. So, reach out to our people, shoot your email address, email us at support@masterboxingllc.com. Put your bid in. People want to get on the show. People want to host and take us in. So if it makes sense, if you got a serious audience, that matters, because it really, you have to measure things and numbers matter. So get back to us, and just email us, let us know, send us a link, let us check you out, and then we can get it popping. All right. Thanks for joining, by the way. Good to hear you. Let me see. What would I say is the biggest difference between pro and amateur? Is night and day. It's not even the same game. Amateur is boxing. Professional prize fighting is exactly that. So you're boxing. So these are the memories in muscle that you're developing. Boxing is pugilism. When you're fighting as a pro, it's prize fighting. So you taking some of the principles from boxing as an amateur, trying not to get hit, but everything else is you're digging down, you're bending your knees, you're sitting down on punches, and you're raking. In amateurs, you're throwing flurries and you're pitter patting and you're scoring. In the professional ranks, it's all about hurting a man. And you do not become a known commodity in boxing. Your objective is to get hurt, trying to hurt someone. That's what you get paid to do. As Tyson even said it not too long ago, that this is the hurt business. Amateur boxing isn't the hurt business. It's boxing. It's a sport. Prize fighting is for professionals. You better have your head helmet on and your mouthpiece in tight, because it's a whole different type game. Your body limbs are trained different. You have to learn an entirely different method of conditioning the body, because now you're not just conditioning for oxygen. Now you're conditioning for muscle density, bone density, muscle dexterity. So your body, all of these things all have to be groomed in entirely different ways. So period. The only thing that's very similar is climbing up steps, and the referee is in the middle. That's the most similarities that you could equate to amateurs and pros. And that's why some of these guys who fighting real guys like Richardson is fighting real guys and he can't get them out of there. Shakur Stevenson said the same thing. Like, man, I was hitting these guys. It felt like I wasn't touching them. Sugar Shane, move up in weight as a pro. What'll happen is you'll feel like you're punching with pillows. So yeah, that's what that punch pad for pros. If any of you guys are coaches and you training people or you got gyms, you better realize this. You can't become a master trying to constantly create your programming. You got to have that done. That's why we came into play because I was doing it. So it was causing me to take a day that could have been, it is still 14 hours, 12 to 14 hours, and made it 19 hours. And it just sucked because I was trying to be a programmer, content providing myself while I was trying to teach and train and run programs and also work with professionals under the tutelage of Coach Anthony Bradley. And that was no joke because I still didn't have content myself. So that was constantly you galvanizing. That was a crazy hustle. It was crazy, but I said never again. And now I don't have to worry about that. All the guys now who are trying to learn, now I invested tens of thousands of dollars in myself, my learning, and my training material back then. So I'm a coach that's going to make it. I'm a trainer that was going to make it. And a lot of you are just looking and thinking you can get it on YouTube and thinking you can get it on Facebook and Instagram. You can learn how to coach. You're crazy because you're going to soon meet these guys. When you see that TSOB, you're going to start running into guys like that who actually have curriculum and that they're following a process to break you down and your fighters. And it's going to be a problem. You get what I'm saying? When you see that hashtag, you better know they are coming from the school of master boxing. So be careful, be conscious, save your pennies, invest in the knowledge. That's the biggest thing. That's my biggest, boom, because it ain't for me now. I done did what I needed to do in the sport. Boxing is paying me back exponentially. I'm paying it forward and I will not stop. And I will also make sure that we execute anybody who's trying to sneak into the game undereducated. We're going to expose you. That's Bible. Next thing, as we get ready to get it popping, this is the fight that I have to really bring up. Canelo Alvarez is my favorite fighter today. Okay, without saying the reason why, because after he fought Floyd, and then he fought Erislander Lara, and the impact in which he made his decision that he was never going to lose again. I realized at that point in time, this is the baddest man on the planet. And I have signatured his name as the Mexican machine gun because he has a mean jab. And it's a totem pole jab. And we teach you how to do that as well in Punch Pad for Pros. The totem pole jab comes from an entirely different realm. And it causes an entirely different impact on a fighter. So when you see him delivering it to a guy, how you learn and the years it takes to embed that skill set inside and punch a guy and break his will, because he was 2 inches away from getting Triple G out of there. So if I was Triple G, I wouldn't even try to get that smoke again because Canelo's just on an entirely different level. And Triple G fights on Friday night on the Zone. So tune in, check it out. If you got the Zone, if you don't, I wouldn't waste $20 to if you don't really want to be involved in the sport. But if you're really involved in the sport, get the membership, $20 a month, and watch some good fights coming up. We got Triple G, you got Canelo. Canelo's worth getting the subscription for, period. Because Anthony Joshua was showing the beautiful jab that Anthony Joshua showed last week. I got to speak a little bit to that, but I got to say some stuff for the fight show. But Canelo, that totem pole jab and the way he works that body and change up his punch combinations and the speed and the power. He's the best combination punching in boxing, hands down, bar none. It's not even a close second. Effective punches. Mean. Javante Davis versus Devin Haney. Who I got? I don't do it like that. You don't. You got to see how the thing materializes. I'm not a. I'm not a. I'm not a fan of boxing. I'm an aficionado, and I am boxing. So when I speak on a fight, I can say, well, it'll be a good fight if they match up. You don't know who will be struggling. It's so many variables and intangibles when it comes to a fight not even being made yet. So you can probably do that and talk about that and pop that question up over at Boxing Knowledge Group, though. You can get a lot of bites off of that one. But when it comes down to us, but welcome and thank you for joining us on the feed. But it's hey, what's up, Sarish? Man, we got some. Let us know where you guys are from too. Great work, boss. I'm doing great. Fantabulous, man. This is great to be able to do this and to be a part of what you do is like I said, I'm humble and I always go above and beyond. These shows take a week minimal to get prepped for. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. But what we're going to do right now is look at the tail of the tape for the Canelo fight against Callum Smith. This dude is 6'2, 6'3. Canelo's 5'8". They say 5'9", but 5'8". Full body, full metal jacket. Has gotten rid of guys like Daniel Jacob as a professional in a world title fight a year or so, a little bit over more than a year ago, 2 years ago. He was able to do that. Daniel Jacobs a 6-footer. He punishing guys. But man, Callum Smith is rangy. I mean, the arm length is whoo 8 inches. He's giving up maybe 9. I mean, that's a lot to overcome. Callum Smith got to have a really rude awakening in order to feel like right now that he couldn't win because he has the physical advantages. And what Canelo has to be able to do, overcome the range, the height, is absolutely pugilism. Pugilism is why I like him so much. He shows all of the wrinkles. I classify him as the pound for pound, even though Terrence Crawford is undefeated and all of that. Canelo's been through there already with the elitists of his divisions. 54, 60, 68, and 75. Yeah, I got to respect that. And he's taken a loss and bounced back even stronger. So Terrence Crawford tactically is his own pound for pound. He doesn't need those medals. He's doing what he needs to do. Now, when he get over there and get the bump with Errol Spence, he gets to fight Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman and Pacquiao and come out, then you know where he really is. But I kind of know where he is. He's a savage. He could fit in the likes of those guys in that Livingstone Bramble and Sugar Ray Leonard's. The guys who really, Donald Curry, were killers back in the day. Mike McCallum, Duran. He's truly that. I don't question that. His mental prowess is on an entirely different level than most cats. So I love that. Let me see. Went from kickboxing to boxing. Different game for sure. Yeah, everybody that come over from these the other combat sports understand that boxing appears to seem like it's easy to do, but you just ask the guys who've done it for their entire life. You ask the trainers who have trained their entire life. There's so much to learn, and one of the common statements from athletes that actually come into this sport are like, man, y'all pay attention to detail. Every skill, every technique is just like so much to it. And it is because the devil's in the detail. And if you don't come all the way correct, you're going to end up, like we said before, you're going to end up in the fire. And from the fire comes the smoke. and you don't want those problems in your life. So make sure you got a great teacher, make sure you got a great team of supporters. Your conditioning coach, strength and conditioning coach, must understand the nutrition, the value of nutrition. If not, isolate that and get you a real one who understands the importance of whole nutrition. And our whole nutrition plan is great too, because it gives you a bird's eye view exactly what you should be doing. So I see my YouTube bouncing a little bit. So for those of you out in YouTube land, welcome to the fight show. I mean, this is in time. It's time to box. Excuse me. I'm so much in the fight show zone. This is it's time to box, where we cover boxing skill sets, and then we talk boxing until we lead into our bigger show. So if you love boxing, if you love learning it and talking it, subscribe, hang out with us. We get it popping. We're also the epicenter of boxing training sales. So if you're looking for those type of necessities, check us out, YouTube and the website. We got you covered 1000%. My man Calvin, let me see what you got here, buddy. Canelo's head movement is amazing. And people realize when I was showing the drill a minute ago, which I'm about to show one more time, for those of you who have chimed in late or missed the first showing, because we did this earlier, my mics weren't plugged in. So when you got these big time high dollar mics, man, they need to be plugged in if they're gonna work. So I didn't have it plugged in, so I was getting feed from my computer monitor, which is an amateur mistake, but far from an amateur. But I definitely made a mistake, so I got to eat it. We showed the jab, the importance of throwing and delivering the perfect jab. So in about 5 minutes, we will replay that so you guys can really get the essence of what it takes in all of the different components that go into delivering a perfect jab, and at the same time being defensively responsible, knowing exactly what to look for, knowing exactly how to deliver it, what you want out of it, and understand how to keep that head off the line. These things are, without saying, not an easy dance, but you got to learn how to do the Y2C, the two step, if you want to learn to be a pugilist or teach someone how to become a pugilist. It's all in one. And we call it all innate because you got to learn it if you want to be great. Yeah, Canelo is the problem. He's one of the best that ever do it. He will go down in history as in the top 3, 4 of Mexican fighters of all times. And big difference. Boxing combos and stance not the same for distance. You need for both kicking and, yeah, I know. I train world champion kickboxers, amateur guys who gone on the pros now. You see a lot of them in my videos. Some of those guys came from Muay Thai, kickboxing, or most of them are real boxers, just boxing. But they learn how different it is, and but they also understood how to toe the line when it's time for front kicks, T kicks, or when it comes to extrapolating that line and becoming a master of popping them with the jab, whether it be bazooka, whether it be shotgun, whether it be step dragon jab. It doesn't matter. They understood the difference between doing them all. So let's move on. Make sure you got what's up, Toledo Jay. I see you in the boxing ring. Let us know something. What you about? You about that life? Let me know. All right, Charles Simmons, School of Boxing in the building. Make sure you do your hashtag. New York City and the Bay, man. Be safe out there in New York. I know it's going crazy. Be uber careful. AJ versus Tyson Fury comments. Yeah, they're gonna be fighting soon. So stay tuned. It's going down. Jimmy, my man. Welcome to It's Time to Box. Sorry, we got so many different shows. What's Canelo's got to do to close the distance on that reach disadvantage? The same thing he did against Kovalev. Timing is essential, and you got to have legs. Your legs have to close the distance while you're in defensive posture. And jabbing under their jab and going raking to the body and bringing combinations up to keep him, put him in a defensive posture. And then that's when you got to steal those cookies, rake, break, and chew the man down. It's all about what you have the courage to do and what you have the training to do. And Canelo has the training to do it. So I can't wait to get into some predictions. I have one of the guest from last week. She worked for the Zone, Claudia Trejos. Most of you, I don't know how many of you got to see it. I know we had like, I don't know, 900 of you were live, but make sure you go down on the post and check that video out. We did two of them. One is basically about the prediction for the Anthony Joshua fight, and then we also did the Canelo fight because she definitely has been firsthand with these guys and has a different perspective than most of the people that you know. So that's kind of what Canelo has to do. He has to really take the time and do what he does best. He knows how to catch, and you know how to catch and parry and hook, and but Callum is the real deal. So I knew you was official in the other arts as well as I try to do. It's my part, man. It's a lot. It's a lot of work to do. It's a lot more work to do galvanizing and making guys real know my job is to, if you're training or if you're planning on becoming a fighter or aspiring fighter or an enthusiast, that you know how to talk the game right and that you know how to get into it and do right by it. You're in school, right? That's why we created the School of Boxing, because there was no platform like that for us as coaches when I was coming up. There also was minimal to no social media at all. Period. I got videos. I got posts that pop up from 10 years ago. We were putting on fight promotions. And just goes to show you, and that was the beginning. That was the end of my real run in the professional ranks working with, the fighters. It was on to this next chapter, which was writing, becoming an author, writing the how-to books, creating the video contents, building a university. So the process would be down because that none of that stuff was at my vantage point. And so the game will hurt a lot of these guys. And that's why there's so many not so solid type trainers, because they haven't been groomed in a lineage like I was groomed. And I not a lot of people have that opportunity. So I got to make sure that people do. So that's my job. I had a lot of work to do, but it's 185,000 people on this page. Not my social media combined, on this page alone. They're here because they know that this is what they need. If you're thinking about getting in the world of training, if you're a personal trainer, you got to realize you got to have something to base your training on. Don't just base it on high intensity training. People need different layers. Just like I was saying earlier in this broadcast, that the guy has to show different speeds in his change up punching, because you can't fight at the same speed. You can't train and work with people at the same rhythm consistently. You got to have wrinkles. So that's kind of what we're doing, making the wrinkles. What you got there for me, Neil? I know you got something good. I do love Canelo, but being British, I got to shout out for Callum Smith. Oh yeah, Callum Smith has earned his rights to be inside of the ring with Canelo. He's a tough fighter, and yes, it's his biggest test. But I'm backing our boy. You're supposed to support your guy. You know, you suppose he's a good kid. He's earned his place. He's earned his stripes. He'll see it this weekend if he's a real tiger or if he was a cat, because the guy he's in there with is a real one. And it's going to be a great fight. And I'm looking forward to some great fights. Now, boxing is back in a good kind of way. I love the fact that we have all of these layers and the fiber behind the sport of boxing. I'm glad that I have something to do with improving all of the injection of boxing from our show, from all of the stuff that I've been doing, to that I've done over the past 20 years, to help other coaches, to really give them the respite to have. And I'm able to give a voice to people by putting them front and center right here. And it's just without saying. At this point, so far this month, we're at 1.3 million people are on our feeds. That's a pretty good thing. It's a pretty good testament to how good people are receiving what you're doing. So my thing and my message always to those who are aspiring to be in the world of boxing or combat at large is to do what's necessary. Don't take shortcuts, because that'll have you do, it's like cheating on the paper. It felt good when you first got the 100, but then the next day the teacher called you in and put a zero there. So now you got a zero to multiply your 80 average. So that takes you down to a F. You get it? Like, that's the same way. You'll eventually get exposed. Don't do it. If you're broke, make money, save your money, purchase into things that make you better, be around the people that make you better. Get rid of the people in your circle that bring you down. And that's constantly my message. When you invest in your destiny will come forward. When you try to take shortcuts, you'll get a zero on your paper and it'll expose you 1000%. So I hope you guys are enjoying It's Time to Box. This is one of the longer episodes that I've had to do, and it's a great thing now. So, and I'm going to close it out. What's up, Nicolani? It's good to see you. The art of 9 limbs, 2 fists, 2 shins, 2 knees, 2 elbows, and the forehead for the headbutt. Yeah, that's definitely a fighter. That's a fighter mentality. Would Mike Tyson win against any of the top heavyweights right now? Well, we just don't want to exercise those things. He can decide to get. He can get a contract to fight him. If he decides to want to do it, you don't know what you wake up when you're turning 55, and if you just feel like training anymore, you don't know. So it's up to Mike Tyson what he does when it comes down to that. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing that he's able to do it, and that he just did it in the ring against Roy Jones and used his legs the way he did. He's one of the best artists when it comes to knowing how to get inside, using a monster jab. Mention the guest for the week. Yeah, definitely. This I just got a message to make sure I mention our up and coming guest this upcoming week on the fight show. Here he is. And it's going to be a beautiful show. Rafael Garcia. He's going to be one of the guys, and he's connected to American Top Team down in Florida. MMA is it's a beautiful thing, and we were just talking about some of the guys in the MMA world. You want to tune in Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and those of you on YouTube, make sure you come catch on live. Gotta have some of the real kings of the MMA world come on board and really chop it up with us. It's going to be a beautiful thing. We always bring the smoke, and Otis, make sure you pop on board. We are going to really get it in live. And that's kind of what we do. And that's kind of it, man. You can drop your predictions for this Callum Smith Canelo Alvarez fight. Just let me see who you got. It's an interesting thing because we will definitely get it in on Thursday once again, bringing it up to give you guys a beautiful insight on how this is for those of you out in YouTube land. I'm about to give you guys one more run on the perfect jab video, and I hope you take the time to go into the description if you want to really learn it and become a master at it. Don't be over there in the boxing knowledge group in outside shadow boxing in front of a tree thinking you getting better. Get better the right way. Guys out, special shout to my guys in the School of Boxing. We got some beautiful things happening. Our official inaugural ceremony, graduation ceremony, January 25th. It's going to be virtual, and we're going to stream live. Families going to be here from around the world. Some very, very important people will be on the broadcast to speak. It's just going to be a big thing. And this was one check off of the bucket list end game, giving athletes, trainers the ability to walk across that stage and celebrate their learning just like they do at Harvard University, Cambridge, and all of the unique and highest level points of education. And so will my guys be able to. It's going down Thursday, the fight show. Mr. Garcia bringing the MMA world to us from American Top Team, Miami. Florida's Florida's hot. Florida's hot. Now, back to the project at hand, the jab, the perfect jab. I'll see you soon in the winner circle.
That, my friend, is the jab. And what we're going to learn here today is how to truly approach throwing the jab and what to look out for when you throw the jab. So no further ado, it's time to box the jab. First thing you want to have is proper feet placement. Knees bent, 12, 2 o'clock, sit down in your stance. Head must be off the line. Why? Because you do not want to get countered to the left. You don't want to get countered to the right. So posture up. Key, hands, you want them around the eyebrow. Why? Because you do not want to get attacked or caught with a hook or overhand and split the eyebrow. So you protect your eyes, and you must have strong dexterity in the defense. Why? Because punches will hit the glove and they will hit you. So you'll be punching yourself. So you must have a strong posture. And when you throw the jab, balance. Do not deliver off balance or too tall. It sets you up for the counter. Throwing the jab, one. Mechanic here, here. Turn the hand over. Turn the hand over. Step with it. Step with it. Remember this, head is off the line. If you throw the jab straight up here, you're going to be in a line of fire. Key, when you throw the jab behind the shoulder, it's key. If you do not, what will happen is when you throw, low shoulder, counter punch over the top. Easy, chin check. You do not want that. So remember, posture right, pop. Make sure you're tucked behind. You cannot get caught. You can ricochet, and then you can catch the left hook. It's not what you do. It's the things that you can't forget not to do. Ready? Boom. Pop, pop. Catch that hook. Make sure you deflect the right. Pivot away from the power hand, which is usually the right hand. And that, my friends, is how you deliver one of the focused jabs, which is the basic jab. And there are a lot of principles. A lot of you really not staying or paying close attention to the depths of the jab. We're going to make sure that you understand why it's important to do the other things, the head off the line. How many different variations of the jab is it? We teach you that in our punch pad for pros, because as you go up in levels, you start to deliver more impactful type punches, more thudding, and you have to develop the body's dexterity. Don't get caught up with just that athletic look. Because if you do that, what's going to happen is your feet are not going to be with you when you throw the punch. So there's not going to be any power with it. See, a jab, every jab, front, back, feet must be with it, right? On another note, one important thing is to make sure that you have the proper tools. You see I have the compression shirt on. It's our 12 Peaks compression training shirt. It gives you a good rebound in your punching. All right, so that's a little cheat sheet. And I always bring the pounds with the power hands. It's uber important. to give yourself a little more whenever you're training. Train with purpose. Understand one thing, the most important punch in boxing is the jab. Do not overlook all of these fine details, excuse my French. It's uber important that what you know can get you to the promised land. What you don't know can be the demise of your future progress. So remember this, understand the layers of the jab. There are many, many variations. It is the most important punch in boxing because there's so many manners in which you can deliver the jab. That's all I got for right now. To learn more about the different type punches, the different type jabs, Punch Pad for Pros. Pros, that is. See you next time in a winner's circle. The jab. It's time to box. So long.